you were my very first guest and still in my top 4 on
No.
Spotify. Your podcast still gets a lot of traction today. But since we last spoke, you've had a lot of things happen with you,
hmm
in particular with your physical health. You went over to Tijuana, Mexico,
That I
and
did.
you did some stem cells, mate. Can you tell me about your recovery and how that was?
Okay. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on again. I did get a fair bit of traction, a lot of people talking about the podcast since then, so
Yeah,
it's good to be back on again. So getting into it, yeah, I've been over twice now to go to Tijuana. I went to the CPI clinic, which is basically you're flying over to San Diego, and then they pick you up from there, take you over the border, and the clinic is in Tijuana. So it's literally just over the border. You can see, the Trump fence. You're that close. You're literally like 300 meters away from the border because of whatever rules and legislation there is about stem cells in the States. But the first time I went over there, I went over there to get some injections in my neck. So they went into the discs and the facets of my neck. So I've got a prolapse disc and also a compressed disc and also a bone spur as well, which I didn't really know I had at the time. But such is life. I injured my neck when I was like a white belt, and gradually over time it got worse. So I also went over there and got some injections into my shoulder. So I've already had like shoulder surgery like probably 15 years ago, 20 years ago, around then. And I got my rotator cuff sewn back together. And also, I didn't want to have to go down that route again of having surgery. So
yeah.
I found out I had arthritis, bursitis, tendonitis, which is pretty standard, normal stuff, just wear and tear. But I also had a labral tear halfway around. So what I've heard from a fair few people was that doesn't heal over time by itself. So you do have to have surgery on that. And I was just like, oh, far out. I don't want to have surgery again. So I thought I'd give it a go, head over there, and I got some injections into the tear. And I wanted an unbiased opinion prior to even going over there in the first place. So they do all the scans and everything and MRIs over there, but I took it upon myself to get a scan over here prior to going over to the States and going over to Tijuana. And yeah, that's what showed the tear all the way around. And 6 months after getting the stem cells, they said that, like, let's say the tear was 1 till 6 p.m., so almost halfway around, and then it had actually started to heal and regenerate. So it was only 3 to 6, so just a quarter of it was torn. So on the MRI that I got over here, they said, well, we can see that you've had surgery on that area on the labrum and it's started to tear again. I said, no, if you actually have a look at my past scan, you'll see, because I got it at the same clinic over here, it was halfway around, and they were like blown away, and they were like, well, that doesn't even work like that at all. You have to have surgery. And I was like, yeah, that's why I wanted to get that unbiased opinion off you guys as opposed to the people at the CPI clinic. So basically, it started to heal, and that was only 6 months after as well.
Yeah.
So that was outside of that placebo effect of like, oh yeah, my shoulder's feeling good. There was actual evidence that it's actually started to regenerate, because I have heard fair few people that have had like complete tears in like their knees and they've started to regenerate and go back together again. My neck wasn't as good. I mean, that's such an older injury, so it feels pretty good. Your body does naturally compensate over time. And I damaged my neck such a long time ago anyway, and it just gradually got worse and worse over time, such is life. But it feels pretty good. But the MRIs before and after, not much of a difference anyway. So, such is life, where I was over there. One of my friends, he had two really badly compressed discs in his lower back. And after 3 months of not really doing much whatsoever, basically it kind of went back to them being from oval into like a rounder shape. And then they were nowhere near as bad as they were prior.
Shit. Yeah. It's interesting too, Gav. You know, you and I, we've been training in martial arts forever. And the number of people that report their neck going, their back going, like I've heard Hickson
Mm,
Gracie has had stem cells as well. He's had a lot of back injuries, and Eddie Bravo as
yeah,
well. We love jujitsu, but there is that part of jujitsu where you can't really roll like how you used to.
yeah.
What have you come to learn about just with injuries? And now obviously the stem cell thing is huge. A lot of world-class jiu-jitsu practitioners, I think Braulio Estima has gone over to countries like Colombia to get stem cells. What have you come to learn about the recovery process with stem cells, especially at our age now?
Um, it's funny, it's like Father Time's going to eventually catch up on you. When I was a 20-year-old, I was training twice a day, sometimes 3 classes a day, and it wouldn't even matter because, I could fall and injure myself, and in a week, I'd be pretty much back to normal anyway. And as it's funny, it's kind of like yelling at a younger sibling saying, giving them advice and they've got to go through their own mistakes. But I remember my coach, Daniel Lima, saying things, and my other coaches prior as well, you just got to take it easier. You got to look after your body. And I was like, yeah, 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 it's all good, all good. I'm still feeling good, so I'll just keep training.
Mm.
So as time goes on, you really do have to manage, yeah, your output. And not,
Yeah.
I wasn't really getting any input back in. I was just training as much as I possibly could,
Mm.
with that old school mentality of like my motto, or our motto from my old club used to be train hard, fight easy. But I trained so hard that I would not even make it to the fight because I'd injure myself, and then gradually things will start to catch up. So these small, minute injuries will eventually stick around to where they're chronic, because we get a bad rap in jiu-jitsu that a lot of people are injured. And I feel it is because it is so much fun, and we release endorphins, you get those happy hormones, and we feel really good training, and we might injure ourselves, we're like, oh, it's not too bad, I'll just work around it. But if you tear your muscle, usually most athletes will just give it time to recover and heal. But it's so much fun jiu-jitsu, you're like, I'll just work around it, and most of the time you're just aggravating it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Yeah, it's interesting you said, obviously talent, you can be born to some degree with a bit of talent. Mother Nature gives you your gifts and Father Time takes them away,
Yeah,
which is what you just said, which is interesting because, when we're in our 20s, we can do this. We feel like we're invincible, but as we get older, the body starts to break down.
hmm.
Recovery is a little bit slower. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, and it's one of the most frustrating things, especially if you're a high performance coach like
yeah,
you are, and also you've competed as well. You're always you've got to be holding the pads for your fighters. You're also working with people and rolling a lot, obviously with your students that are getting ready for competition and things like that.
yeah.
Yeah, is there a right way of going about training? So when you come into an academy, and this is what a lot of coaches don't really teach, is the people that last in jiu-jitsu tend to drop the tempo back a little bit, because if you just go too hard too soon, you're going to get injuries. But is there a right way of someone that's walking into the academy and wants to do this for a long time? Because longevity is something that, we really need to think about, especially in our old age.
Um, yeah. So obviously you've seen the memes with the short-term black belt that once somebody gets a blue belt, they just fade away because they went too hard, too fast, competed
Hmm.
as much as they possibly could, and then they're starting to feel a little bit broken. You can do that at a younger age, but I feel if you're wanting to do this long term, like a good example would be we have a black belt that trains with us, and he never trained more than 3 times a week. Majority of the time, he would be training twice a week, which is not a lot. But I remember starting when he started, and now he's had his black belt for over 2 years now,
Mm.
and he's pretty much injury free, and he's in his late 40s. So you will get there, but then again, it's hard. Obviously, we want to train and roll all the time, but then again, if you are injured, I mean, obviously, if you have something that requires surgery or time off, actually have the time off or
Mm.
go and have surgery, because if it's a little injury, like there's a difference between pain and injury. A lot of people don't understand the difference. It's like, yeah, you're running around the mat, you're doing push-ups and squats and lunges or whatever it may be. You're in pain and it's hard to work out. Progress and go through there because you're like, oh, this is a lot of pain, but it's not an injury.
Yeah.
If you are injured, you rolled your ankle or something like that, have time off if you do need that time off. Otherwise, it is going to turn into a long-term injury. But yes, you can work around it, but just be selective with who you're training with for that longevity. If you want to do this for a long time, as time went on, I started to just become more technical naturally because I'm not as explosive as I used to be. Like I
Yeah.
used to love doing double legs, and now that I've had back surgery and I've got a damaged neck, and I've also had shoulder surgery, and I've also had ankle surgery as well as other things. I'm like, oh, if I shoot in, I'll sprawl, I'll damage my shoulder, I'll hurt my neck if I shoot in on the wrong angle. So just got to be a bit more placid and just go with the flow. And obviously, as time goes by, you don't give a shit about the ego. Somebody taps me out, who cares? It doesn't really matter. I guess it's different when you're trying to get into competing. Yeah, you have to go harder and have harder rounds leading up to the competition, but also be selective with your training partners. And if you do want to progress, put yourself in uncomfortable positions. If there's some loony on the mat that's just snapping on positions, obviously be a little bit reluctant to give them your limb. Maybe you might want to do it with somebody that is not going to snap on a submission, but then maybe you could just avoid that person altogether.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
longevity, think long term. Otherwise, short term, you're going to burn yourself out. Just like anything, you got to work on that periodization, getting closer to competition. Yeah, you got to amp it up. And then you got to have a little bit of time off, which is what I say to all my students. You know, right after them competing in jiu-jitsu or MMA, it's fine to have a couple of days off. If you don't have any big competition coming up and you get damaged in a competition, you've got to have time off because you're training hard to go into an event where somebody's actually trying to hurt you. So if you overdo it, you won't even make it to the competition, which is what I did I train hard, fight easy, not even make it to the competition in the first place. So it just comes with time.
Yeah.
Hard to say. Short answer.
Yes. Yeah. And I think too, Gav, as a coach, it's also important to impress upon, because some of the most career-ending injuries, some of the most catastrophic injuries we've ever seen in jiu-jitsu or any sort of grappling is from takedowns. But takedowns are imperative. You need to learn takedowns. And you posted a video about Kani Basami, which is a scissor takedown. It can work beautifully if you pull it off, but it also has some catastrophic consequences, especially people pulling their knee out and things like that. As a coach yourself, I'm sure you impress upon safety measures. And I think John Danaher, there was a viral video of John Danaher talking with his students about band techniques. And this is something that I think a lot of coaches need to impress upon because falling body weight, a jumping guard, Kani Basami, these are all things, that have a lot of risk involved. And what are some of the safety measures that you sort of implement in the schools?
So I've been training forever. So there have been a couple of cases where people have been badly damaged from jumping guard. So I say, don't jump guard whatsoever in class because more than likely if there's a high percentage chance of damaging your opponent's knees. That's why blue belt and above, you're allowed to jump guard, right? In most competitions. I find it's beyond me the fact that you're even allowed to jump guard. If you know how to do it properly, that's fine. That's all good because you're jumping up around their waist. But majority of people, they move backwards and then you see the knees hyperextend and go backwards. I saw there was a competition probably about 10 years ago where a white belt, I think he'd been training for about 6 months. He leant backwards as a guy tried to jump guard and both knees went backwards. And then that was it. It's funny. It's not funny. It's bad actually, but there's been 3 people here that have one jumped guard on this guy's legs, damaged his knee. He had to have a fair bit of time off. He jumped guard on somebody else's legs and then damaged his knee. That guy I think he never really came back properly again, but he damaged his knee. And then I think somebody jumped guard on that guy and it was like the Bermuda Triangle. So don't jump guard whatsoever. If you can't do any stand up, just go to guard. Grab your partner and pull them into guard. That's fine. You can go to whatever guard you want. If you can't wrestle, obviously maybe your partner is bigger or stronger, all good. And then we find it when people are struggling to try and take their opponent down, they go for a body lock, which is a number one outside of jumping guard, is basically they just throw their leg around and they just sacrifice. And it's literally like somebody's in a squatted position and then their leg buckles with your body weight, their body weight, and usually you just damage your opponent's knee. So if you can't take your opponent down, all good to go to guard, but don't jump guard. And Kani Basani, it's like basically it's a scissor leg throw. So you're just jumping up and you're just kicking one leg one way and the other behind the back of the knee. So it's the stomach, the back of the knee to take them down onto their back. But what happens is they usually jump guard on the, jump into a Kani Basami and buckle their opponent's knee. So you're not allowed to do this in judo anymore. And this is similar to jumping guard. So it's still beyond me the fact that we're allowed to jump guard in competition. It's like a knee bar that you can't actually stop.
Yeah.
They're just going to jump on your knee and destroy your knee. So why do it in the first place?
Yeah. I think too, Gav, it baffles me too, because for years we thought that leg locks were the main adversary in all these injuries. But it's not. It's falling body weight. It's people jumping guard. I saw a horrendous accident where a guy, I think it was in the Sambo competition, he went for a flying armbar. He didn't execute it. He landed on his neck. He broke his neck. And I think he became a quadriplegic. And
I think I remember seeing that as well.
Yeah.
Was that he was there and then the guy like dropped on top of him and his neck went one way and he was kind of in an armbar. I do remember seeing that.
I mean, it is just hard to watch, and you can just see the agony that's going through, watching him in agony. It's just excruciating pain he must have gone through. And yeah, it baffles me how some rule sets and competitions allow this. And I mean, even jumping guard at blue belt.
Yeah.
What do you think needs to change in to keep competition safe but fun? And even in MMA, I think Kani Basami, I think you're allowed to do it. Yeah, you're allowed to
in
do
MMA.
MMA, yeah. But what do you think needs to happen in a rule set to keep MMA, to keep jiu-jitsu safe?
Okay, so talking about jiu-jitsu, I would not be confident enough to stand with most blue belts and allow them to jump guard on me. Because if my legs are straight or I'm not really switched on, my leg could go the wrong way. If they know what they're doing, that's okay. But the risk versus reward, why not just, let's say, 2 brown belt or 2 black belt, or completely take out jumping guard altogether? Same with the Kani Basami, the scissor takedown, completely take out those because you can always pull guard. It's not that hard to do, and you'll really never damage your opponent's knees. I can't even think of how, if you're pulling guard. Whatever guard it is, you feint to go for a takedown, there's an opening, you pull guard because you couldn't take your opponent down. As opposed to, I can't get my opponent down, I've just got to jump and get to guard and hope that I get to my back and I end up in a good position. I think Kani Basami and also body lock takedown, where you're just throwing your leg across, hoping for the best, and then usually you see most people's knees get buckled.
Yeah, there's a judo throw. I can't think of the name. It's not Tai Toshi. I don't think that has any real.
I think it's a valley drop where you're throwing your leg behind and falling backwards.
That's the one. Yeah. It's not Tai Toshi. Tai Toshi is a relatively safe judo throw. I think that's the one that.
It all kind of comes down to if your foot is gripped on the mat. If it's not, your leg can fall backwards. But if their body weight is landing on your leg, it's the same thing as you just trying to do a body lock, but you just sacrifice.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
risk versus reward. I don't allow that in the club when we're training. Same thing with jumping guard, just for safety. Kani Basami is very dangerous. I've got students that muck around and do it very slow with people that know how to react, but there's very, very slim chance of getting it properly without hurting your opponent's legs. So we don't really allow it too much.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, because takedowns are fantastic. They're amazing. I have a lot of admiration for judo, and just it's really spectacular to see a beautiful throw. And also I think as well, you and I would both agree on this, some of the injuries that we probably have occurred over the years has probably been rolling with people that are a little bit less skillful than us, lower
the crazy white
blue
belt,
belts or spazzy white belt.
Yeah.
Like I can remember a lot of injuries I've occurred over the years is just from people that have come into the school that are just starting to try out, that have that pit bull mentality.
Yeah.
I mean,
and they don't really understand how the body bends or what joints go, the limits really. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I'd much prefer to roll with a brown belt or a black belt or a purple belt, but a brand new white belt, they're just doing whatever they can to
Yeah.
survive. And when you get to that stage where you're constantly getting tapped out every single time, I mean, it is a very hard sport to sell from the outside in.
Mm.
Come in, constantly get smashed, and hopefully one day you won't get smashed as much. And then you being the nail, one day you'll be able to be the hammer. So they're doing whatever they can to get that submission because they're constantly getting tapped out. So they're just, they'll do whatever they possibly can. Yeah. Very, very risky. But it's just like anything, you know, judo and wrestling is hard for most people that don't do it. It's just like anything. I don't really like dancing because I don't know how to dance. So, first time I tried to do any wrestling and stand up, I sucked. So, I had to do as much as I possibly could to become better at it. And now I feel confident. It's like the first time we start jiu-jitsu. You're a complete fish out of water. You don't know what you're doing and you're getting tapped out all the time, hoping that you'll get better over time. But the more you do it, the better you'll get and the more you like it.
Yeah.
But I have a lot of students or some students that are afraid of stand up. And yeah, you probably should be afraid of training with the loonies. So I won't put you with the ones that are a bit spazzy white belts. So like, all right, you're going to go over there. I'll get you to partner up here. But once you know a couple of takedowns, you know how to land properly, you can build your confidence. It's just like jiu-jitsu though.
Yeah.
It's just do more of it, get better over time.
Yeah. One of the things that, I mean, you just brought this up. If we think about why the highest dropout rate is at blue belt, and people call it the blue belt blues, do you also think too, it's a coach's responsibility, especially if you're talking about a marketing sense and retaining students in the club, because it is a business, is to be mindful on who the student is, who they pair up with, because if there's a weight and size discrepancy, you know, you might have a 50-kilogram female student paired up with a 90-kilo male student, you know, and roll. There has to be some sort of awareness, I guess, from the man's perspective on how he should roll. Because I tell my students to be mindful who you're rolling against. If it's equal skill level, go nuts. Go hard. But if there's a weight and size discrepancy, just be mindful, you know. Sure, sometimes you're going to be the hammer, sometimes you're going to be the nail. Sometimes, you know, you're going to tap out from people that are a little bit less skilled than you. They just get lucky. But there needs to be some sort of mindfulness as a coach on who should pair up with who. Would you agree with that?
So usually when, I mean, take out the fact male or female, if there's such a big gap in between the weight, let's say somebody's 50 kilos and then somebody's 90 kilos, they could roll together if the 90 kilo person knows what they're doing. You know, they're controlled. They're not just going to work on their pressure passes and just crush you into the ground with like a knee ride. But then again, like, it kind of comes down to personality. Like I can go, all right, I know this person will flow. I'm going to put this person with this person. Although there's 20 kilos difference, it doesn't matter too much. Just like even like a small brown belt going with, you know, a very, very heavy blue belt, there's a big chance that they might hurt them because they're doing whatever they possibly can to not get tapped. So yeah, body weight is a thing. That's why there's weight classes as well. So if you can flow together, excellent. You can partner up with whoever you want. But if there is somebody that's incredibly aggressive and they're much bigger than that person, I'm probably going to go, oh, maybe I'll get you over there. So when new students come in, they don't really know what they're doing. It doesn't really matter what level, what weight they are. I would probably get them to do something simple like, all right, you're going to start in a closed guard and you're going to focus on the moves we did today. You've got to get past your opponent's guard and hold them in side control. All right, excellent. Reset, go back and start again. You know, you can do that with kind of anyone really, and it's controlled. You're not going to get some loony that just like dives on some random submission or does some flying pass and knees their opponent in the head. So it's just being selective and knowing your students. And yeah, it's the same thing in martial arts. Like if you're looking at, say, Muay Thai, if new people come in and they want to spar straight away, I'm like, oh, okay, I don't know who the hell you are. You don't even have the training gear. I'm going to get you to shadow box and I'll just see how controlled you are before I just let you go in there just for safety reasons.
Because how many black belts has Daniel promoted? There's, what do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 black belts.
14 black belts. But they're the ones that he's promoted to black belt. There's other coaches from that have their own black belts underneath us. So there
Yeah.
are a fair few Fight Club black
Yeah.
belts. They've got their own gyms and they've promoted a couple of black belts underneath. But
Yeah. And
yeah,
Daniel's done an amazing job, but obviously also he has a high retention rate. You
mm,
know, to be able to get someone from white to black belt is a remarkable feat. And especially as a coach too, we want to try and keep people in the door because we know the benefits of martial arts. And it's kind of a shame how the highest dropout rate in jiu-jitsu is blue belt. And I
mm,
think we can break that stigma. We, I mean, we wouldn't really call it a stigma, but we can break that. We can break that down by enforcing, proper etiquette in the gym. It's obviously, understanding as a coach, you're going to have different people with a broad spectrum of occupations. Some people are going to be on and off the mat, injuries, but there's a lot of things you can do to mitigate
mm.
people quitting. Um, but what have you found that really helps students to keep them engaged? Because your style of teaching is, I think, one of the best. It's world class, to be honest,
Thank you.
because you have a really thorough knowledge in breaking the technique down for the individual to understand. And I think that's why you have a good retention rate, especially in your classes.
I mean, each class we could have a white belt, we could have a brown belt, we could have some black belts, but as long as I can pass on the knowledge to how much they can actually comprehend. Like this morning, for example, I was teaching white belts how to do a hip escape.
Mm,
But then again, I do have some white belts that know how to do berimbolos. So it's the individual and how much they can kind of comprehend.
yeah.
So I would teach usually, we're doing the same technique and I'll show a pass, for example. But then I'll also go over to the purples and browns and go, oh, and you can also try this and then do this. And then also throw them some curveballs and go, all right, how else could you pass here? Or how else could you go for a submission and then open up a pass from their defense? So I get them thinking of things as well. So I think it's the individual, making it easy enough for them to understand maybe a blue belt. I'm not going to show them nearly as much as a black belt. But then if they can comprehend it, excellent. I'm not going to
Mm,
hold them back. So if you look at other clubs, I mean, it's good to be in a club that majority of people that have gone white to black are still here, where you do see a lot of other clubs with a lot of black belts, but majority of them have just gone from club to club to club to club. So yeah, you've got a lot of black belts or a lot of high ranks, but none of them even started with you. And then
no.
not a lot of them even really stick around. So the retention rate, the churn is like, well, you really got to adjust that over time. You might be doing, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a hard one, but
Yeah.
it depends on what the student can comprehend and always have something for them to strive towards, whether it's like a grading or competition or like, oh, you're terrible at passing, really focus on passes. This is what you got to do. And then having something for that individual to work on as opposed to just everybody's doing the same technique.
Yeah.
So not everybody learns like that.
No, no. And you've also created some online instructionals and it's a very um catchy website, Grapple Hub, which
Yeah,
which is interesting.
yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about your online instructional material. Yeah, so Grapple
The
Hub.
logo.
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
if you've seen it
A
elsewhere,
lot a
but
lot of people will
yeah.
be obviously catched on with yeah, the catchy phrase of what you got there.
Well, I guess I've honestly been making jiu-jitsu instructional videos before it was cool. So probably like 10 years I've been randomly making videos and then I thought I'd just compile them all together and over the last couple of years I've really knuckled down and tried to make a lot more instructionals. So I worked it out over 30 plus hours of instructionals where each video will go for 5 to 10 minutes. So there will be different levels of techniques. Like I've got ones on takedowns, single legs, double legs, body locks,
Mm.
defenses, escapes, kimuras, arm bars, triangle chokes. But I've tried to make it so it's like the bread and butter. Like let's say, well, one of the recent ones I've been doing is you're starting in, say, a hold down, for example. Okay, so you're in mount position.
Mm.
So hold mount, how to hold mount, very, very bread and butter techniques. Okay, they're bridging. Okay, they're trying to get to half guard, how to avoid those techniques. And then if they do start to catch your foot and then catch you almost in a half guard, how to pass and get back to mount. Or if they are bridging, how to transition before they completely escape
Mm.
and then going back to mount. So you know how to hold mount. Excellent. And then going for the submissions. Initially, when you're first starting out, you'll work on those solo techniques, and as time goes by, you're trying to blend your techniques together. So, going for a submission, they react in maybe one of three ways, and then having a follow up technique from how they react, and then going into another submission. So, that's how I've tried to structure it. So
Yeah.
step by step by step. So the full bread and butter techniques, solo techniques, then blending them together. And I've tried to do that with a lot of the instructionals I've been doing lately.
Yeah.
So you can go as deep as you want down the rabbit hole, but constantly bringing out new techniques every week, really. So
Yeah. And one of the things too, Gav, like you and I started jiu-jitsu probably late 2000s. When did you start jiu-jitsu?
Um, Jiu-Jitsu, it would have been around then, yeah. I think
Yeah.
like I've had my black belt now for about 9.5 years, and it took me 12 to 13 years to get my Jiu-Jitsu black belt. And then I was dabbling a little bit prior to that
Yeah.
where there wasn't just, it was like somebody does Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but they're like a
Yeah.
purple or a blue belt. So doing a little bit and then Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, but
Yeah.
it was early 2000s.
Yeah. And phenomenal too, man. You received your third degree this year. And
Yeah,
for those people that don't really understand how long it takes between each dan, usually the time frame to get from white to black in jiu-jitsu is between 8 to 15 years.
yeah.
Once you get your black belt, it's about 3 years to get your first degree, another 3 years to get your second degree, and another 3 years to get your
Mm.
third degree. Then after third degree, it's every 5 years.
So I got a while.
It's a long, long time. So,
4 years now.
and you and I, obviously, we're going to be doing this till the wheels fall off. So who knows, maybe down the track when we're like, you'll probably get it before me, but maybe in my 80s or something, we might be coral belts.
Yeah, yeah.
Who knows? We might be
We'll
90 by the time.
we'll rock up in our
Wheelchairs.
wheelchairs
Yeah.
and then do another podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it takes such an awfully long time to get from white to black. But for you too, man, it's a phenomenal feat to be awarded your third degree, 9 years now at Jiu-Jitsu black belt. And one of the things too, like when you and I were moving up in the ranks, there weren't a lot of black belts
No.
that like how there are now. And now because there's a lot of online instructionals. So people are now going to be able to get their black belts a lot quicker.
Yeah.
What do you think is something that has really accelerated people's learning to really help them get to that next level? So you obviously at Fight Club Jiu-Jitsu have a curriculum. Um, you teach the curriculum. You also teach your own sort of style. You also mold the student's style to suit their games. But what have you found that works really well as far as a teaching perspective to really help a student's understanding and get them to excel a bit quicker?
Um, Everybody's going to learn in different ways.
Mm.
So, I mean, you've got your bread and butter techniques. Obviously, when you come in, you've got to learn, your solo drills, hip escape. It's for this reason. You'll forever be doing that. Okay, that makes sense. Learning how to fall. We're doing throws, we're doing takedowns, so you're not going to injure yourself. Okay, you do these techniques for these reasons, and then talking about, say, different concepts that will come over time. You can say, oh, an underhook is pretty good pretty much everywhere. You could be in half guard, you could be in mount position, you could be in side control, you could be standing, and that people can't really comprehend that for a while. So it really depends on how fast they're progressing. So initially, like in our grading curriculum, we look at like basic techniques, how to hold your opponent down. And then from there, it's like, okay, basic guards, breaking your opponent's posture, holding onto their limbs. And if you're on top, you're trying to get the posture, pushing off your opponent, making sure you've got a good base. From there, we can focus on different basic guard passes, and then we can focus on different transitions. You're in knee ride, you're in north south, you're in side control, you're in a scarf hold, knowing why you would transition. Your opponent's about to work on, their escape. So that's why you could transition, or you're trying to go for a submission and you're just running into a barrier and you can't progress. But then if you do transition to something else, it might open up a submission, for example, or you just don't feel stable. Let's say you're with an opponent and you're in mount position and they're bridging and bucking all over the place because their weight's right underneath you with their hips. So you might downgrade, it might seem like a downgrade, but you go to side control. So that just comes with time. And then from there, you're progressing through different submissions and then also focusing on escaping those submissions. So as much as people want to work on those lower percentage submissions, like the flying arm bars, flying triangles, all these funky rollover techniques, that will come with time. But like it or not, if you're just starting out, you really do have to focus on your escapes.
Yeah.
Because you're more than likely going to be put in very bad positions. But if nobody can hold you down and nobody can submit you, it's a matter of time before, wow, I'm on top and I'm in a good position. Now I can start to work on
Yeah.
my submissions and things like
I
that.
totally agree. I totally agree that if you can get very good defensively, that'll help you game offensively because you're gonna take more risks.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're gonna take more risks. So if you get put back in mount, no worries, I can just escape again. If I get put in knee right, I know what to do. I can escape again. Getting really good at escapes definitely helps your offensive game. I heard a story about Hickson Gracie. He could escape a fully locked rear naked choke with both hooks in.
Mm,
Incredible.
yeah.
That's really impressive.
Kind of depends on who's doing it, right?
True, yeah. But I mean, a fully locked rear naked choke. How do you get out of that? Like, it's pretty impressive to actually. I mean, I'd love to see it, but I heard he could do it.
Well, it depends. If he's on my back trying to choke me, I'd probably get put to sleep. I'd think about it,
Yeah,
and then I'd wake up, and then he's shaking my legs and
yeah,
getting blood flow back to my head.
that's right.
But,
Yeah,
you know, how I would get out of it, fully rear naked choke. So think about it like your partner's head has to be on the opposite side to the one that's choking, right? If you can't break the grip and you can't get rid of the hooks, I've done it here and there, it's annoying, but it is what it is. Their head's on that side, I will literally let go and push their face as much as I possibly can to get my head to the opposite side so I can
yeah,
sneak my shoulder in to buy myself some time.
yeah,
What are they going to do? Are they going to address the fact that you're pushing them in the face? It's not a nice move to do,
yeah,
but yeah, I mean, like I said, I could think about doing this and then somebody just puts me to sleep.
yeah.
So
I,
getting comfortable in the most uncomfortable positions.
yeah. I tell you what, too, Gav. Probably in the last 10 years, we've seen a huge boom in martial arts in general than we ever have in probably 500 years of history.
Mm,
We've seen a change in jiu-jitsu now becoming more of a spectator sport. CJI, I watched that last year. That was amazing. They used the concept from karate combat in fighting in a pit, because that's a problem too. Like a lot of jiu-jitsu comps, they always go out of bounds. And
mm,
the thing with the pit and the how it's sort of structured is if you get put up against the wall, it's a detriment for you. You want to
mm.
make sure that you're standing in the middle. So the ref's not going to stop it. It's still going to keep going. A little bit like MMA. If you get pushed up against the cage, the fight still continues. And I think that's why jiu-jitsu now is becoming a little bit more exciting, especially from a spectator sport. And also now people are like, there's a lot of big prize money too. Like
Mm.
CJI, the prize money was $1 million. People will probably won't tap to a heel hook. They'll let their leg break. They'll let their
Yeah.
knee
I
knee.
mean, if surgery costs $50,000, but you might get $1
Yeah,
million, I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah. I mean, for a prize money like that, people are gonna fight not to the death, but they're gonna put their limbs on the line.
Well, it's better doing that
Mm.
than just a local comp where you're caught in a Kimura and your arm pops just because you didn't want to tap because there was a chance that you could get like a $20 medal.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
interesting with the CJI. I mean, like I've got students that compete in like grappling in the cage,
mm,
which is the same thing, but then you're not getting pushed out of bounds like
yeah,
you usually would in a jiu-jitsu competition, which is good, but it's different. But it's also a good stepping stone for them to get ready for MMA. You get to do your takedowns up against the wall. With the CJI, the alley, I think they call it.
yeah,
Um, you know, Gray Jones took what he thought was good from the ADCC and then he's like, oh, and also MMA, the rounds. That's pretty cool to
mm,
actually do a 5 minute round, go back
yeah,
to your corner and go, yeah, all right, you got to adjust this, and then go back in there again. And then you see now, making it better again,
yeah,
the USC, the BJJ UFC, which is the same thing. It's curved, which is the same thing as just modifying it and making it better again.
mm,
Um, so it's just
Yeah.
evolution, really.
Yeah, yeah, and we've evolved so quickly in the last 10 years.
Mm,
Like, how impressive is it to see the wave of jiu-jitsu and how it's going? Like, we're seeing the online instructionals now. We're seeing it more of a spectator sport, where literally now athletes can get paid.
mm.
Man, it's exciting.
It is.
Yeah.
It's it can definitely be an information overload.
Mm,
And there are so many instructionals out there. There are so many competitions. It's such a big sport these days. Where yeah, uh, at the end of the day, you got to market yourself, but there's a lot of cringy aspects to it as well.
yeah,
But I mean, it's just like MMA, it's not usually the best fighter getting to the top because he doesn't really sell tickets. Like he might win all the time, but then
yeah.
again, he might even not even speak English. He
Mm,
doesn't have a big social media following. But now you're seeing it in jiu-jitsu where they've got quite the personas and like their own personalities and everything, and they've got other
yeah,
businesses and things like that and clothing brands and whatever. And then you're like, oh yeah, and they do grappling as well. You
yeah.
got to do what you got to do to sell the tickets to actually get on certain things like
Mm,
different competitions, whether it's jiu-jitsu or MMA, and obviously you got to be good too. But
yeah,
at the end of the day, you are trying to sell tickets.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, it's an interesting one.
I don't want to get cancelled for this,
All right.
but there was a huge backlash from the jiu-jitsu community about a recent black belt promotion from a very high performance entrepreneur in the States.
Mm.
His name is Derek Moneyberg. You might have heard about this.
Oh yeah.
The jiu-jitsu community went ballistic. How can you get a black belt in 3.5 years?
Yeah.
Um, BJ Penn, I think, got his black belt in about 3.5 years. And I think he won a world championship at brown belt. Now, I don't know the ins and outs of the story, but I do know that Jake Shields, who's a world-class MMA fighter, used to fight in the UFC. I
Yeah.
think he promoted him to black belt. Um, are we seeing a little bit of a thing now with watered down jiu-jitsu? And I think the
Uh,
legitimacy of what you and I know and how long it takes to get to a black belt in jiu-jitsu is exactly like how you'll get a doctorate in medicine or something like that. Do you think also, like, what was your sort of opinion on the whole thing of the re
oh. At the end of the day, it's funny, like, yeah, it took me a lot longer to get to black belt. I was training 4 times a week and
Mm,
doing whatever I possibly could. I didn't have every instructional to look at. But then again, yeah, people will progress a lot quicker
mm,
than they used to back in the day. But I've got people that train all the time, and it depends on how good they are at jiu-jitsu. I'm not willing to sell my soul to progress and just get them ahead a lot faster
mm.
because, maybe they're doing more privates with me. But it all kind of comes down to each of their own. Like
Yeah,
I don't, at the end of the day, I don't give a shit what they think. But 3 years is pretty quick. And then looking at how good he is at jujitsu and rolling, it's a reflection back on the people that actually gave him a black belt.
mm,
And these people are really good, but there's a monetary aspect. If you follow the money, I, I don't care. How am I going to get cancelled?
yeah,
I would say 3 years is quite quick, unless you're going out there and you're winning world championships, or every time you see that person roll, you're like, wow, that guy is really good. And
yeah,
some students, they're just picking up every single thing. I've got some students that can watch an instructional and they remember it word for word and they can do it in class.
yeah,
Where some people, I can show a single technique, a Kimura from north south, and they can't even get the grips right. And
yeah,
they're a higher belt. So
yeah,
I don't know this guy personally,
mm,
but I saw some rolling footage, and it's really a reflection back on the people that have graded him.
yeah,
But
yeah,
3 years,
yeah.
crazy. I was on my white belt for 3 years,
Me too.
and I was
Yeah,
training as much as I possibly could.
yeah,
Yeah, I will say he was probably a better white belt than I was, but I was already training like grappling and Japanese jiu-jitsu for probably like 8 years prior to even doing
yeah,
that. So I thought I knew what I was doing,
mm,
but kind of comes down to
yeah,
integrity of the coaches and the Hollywood black belts, right?
yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's some other names out there, some other people I've seen. Like,
yeah,
there's a famous video. I don't care. I'll say it anyway. Craig Jones was rolling with Ashton Kutcher, and he was a brown belt. And I was like, oh my gosh! As soon as I saw him rolling with Craig Jones, yeah, Craig Jones is way better
yeah,
than he will probably ever be. But the techniques that he was trying to do, the first thing I said, I was like, I've got white belts that will destroy him.
yeah,
So each of their own. It is a business at the end of the day, but it's also like you want to be the ones where it's like oh, you're a sandbagger, get your friggin' belt, because I'm sick of getting tapped by a lower belt, as opposed to that guy that's like, oh, far out. He got his black belt already.
Yeah.
But jiu-jitsu these days, there's different formats. It's like some people do it for self-defense.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be really good at self-defense. Excellent. They're probably not going to be the ones that are winning jiu-jitsu competitions, but they know a hell of a lot more for self-defense. And then there's guys that are like much more grappling, wrestling, submission based, and then they're going just into no gi, but then again, they don't have anything to do with gi. And then you get the guys that are just like, all right, these guys are really good at takedowns, not dabbling too deep into all the submissions, but they're getting ready for MMA.
Yeah.
So different aspects, it's like we saw it with other martial arts way back in the day. You see Taekwondo. There was a business side of it where my mate, he got his black belt in 2 years. And then we sparred and I was like, holy shit, he has no idea what the hell he's doing at all.
Yeah.
But then again, he'd do a grading every 2-3 months without fail, even if he didn't turn up to class. And then you get the really good Taekwondo guys that went over and did kickboxing, and they were really good at sparring, but probably terrible at katas. So, there's different branches. So it is what it is. It's not just jiu-jitsu. Back in the day when I first started, was you would go into jiu-jitsu to improve your other martial arts, because majority of us were strikers. Like I came from a striking background, and I was like, I was watching the UFC and I was like, these guys are pretty good at grappling. If I can learn some of these submissions or how to get out of some of these submissions, I might be better at, if somebody does take me down, what the hell to do. So I'm all-round fighter, where these days people get into jiu-jitsu and they just do gi, each to their own. And then some people are just like, I've got a student who comes over to the club. He goes from gym to gym to gym. He only does no gi. I don't even know if he's even thrown a gi on before. And it's like a brown belt, but that's fine. It's all good, And then other people that just do it for a social environment, which they technically should take longer because they're just here training. It's just a social thing for them to get a black belt, I think. But each to their own.
I think the world record for the fastest anyone's ever got a jiu-jitsu black belt is about 18 months, and that was by Travis Stevens, who's an Olympic silver medalist in judo. He had prior grappling experience. He's won world championships in judo. Judo very much can cross over into jiu-jitsu. John Danaher, I think, gave him his black belt. I think that's the fastest I've ever heard anyone get a jiu-jitsu black belt. Gordon Ryan, who a lot of people know, I think he got his black belt in about 5 years or something.
Yeah.
Something like that. But he's a world.
You can't question that.
You can't question that. No.
And then also rolling with like somebody that is like world champion in judo or something. You're like, oh yeah, he got his black belt pretty quick. And then roll with him and you'd be like, holy shit. All right, I understand what the hell they're talking about. I understand why you actually got the belt, because they've got previous experience in another grappling art. It's like I remember back in the day when I was learning how to do some wrestling, there was a guy who progressed pretty quick to get to he quickly went to his blue, and then not long after that, he got to his purple, but also he was a Division 1 wrestler, and he was also doing judo as well. And he was just ragdolling everyone. And then the fact that you do get done for stalling much quicker in wrestling, he was constantly just progressing and moving ahead, and he could flow. He wasn't just muscling everyone. He was incredibly technical, and it's still grappling. So he wasn't just like using brute force. He was a small guy who's like 70 kilos, and he was awesome to roll with. So you can see why, because he's got that previous experience of grappling. It was just, all right, now we've got to get your guard passing good. Now we've got to get your sweeping good. Now we've got to get your submissions good. But he was already really good at takedowns, and it was incredibly hard to sweep. And also he had some good judo throws as well. So he knew what to do with the gi stand-up wise too.
Yeah.
If you've got no previous experience whatsoever, and I don't know the background of this guy that got his black belt in 3 years, maybe he's been training some other traditional martial arts, or maybe he's a judo black belt or something like that, and then I could be completely wrong. But just going off how he was rolling and doing technique, I would have held him off a little longer.
Yeah, and you're right too. It is up to the coach to decide whether or not the student has the right to be awarded a jiu-jitsu black belt, because also it makes the student feel embarrassed if they feel like they haven't really.
I would feel embarrassed.
I feel embarrassed too.
Like I remember when I had my purple belt, and I was a purple belt for like 6 years, and then I got my brown belt, and it was weird, but I actually missed having my purple belt on.
Yeah.
And then I got my brown belt and I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for this.
Yeah.
I missed my purple belt because it's like I passed that halfway mark. But then again, I was a purple belt for 6 years and I was competing all the time. but then I got brown belt and time goes by anyway. So I guess it's just what you do with it. It's just when some people get to that belt, they're like, all right, tick, I know jiu-jitsu now, I'm good.
Yeah.
Where, they say your journey starts when you finally get to black belt.
Mm.
I mean, I do sessions with black belts all the time and I'll show them moves that they've never seen before and they can't comprehend. And then it takes them quite a while until they actually can comprehend it. But then again, I can show techniques to lower belts and then they're switched on and they'll get it.
Yeah.
And I learned a technique off a purple belt the other day and I was like, that's awesome. Can you
Yeah.
come over and show the class?
Mm.
Because I'm a coach. I don't act like I know everything. I'm constantly still learning. I've still got that student mentality. I'm learning new things all the time. And who cares if it's from a lower belt? It doesn't really matter. Or some
Yeah.
YouTube technique or something like that, just a different way of doing things. Because once you go, oh, okay, all right, I know everything, that's kind of the end.
Yeah.
I remember getting like sweeps back in the day. Like I remember I was rolling with this guy who was a purple belt, I was a blue belt. He was always beating me up all the time. And then I learned this new move. It was called De La Riva guard. And he had no idea how to pass.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh my God, jiu-jitsu is actually working. This is crazy. I learned this new move. He's never seen it. And then I did a sweep on him and I was like, oh, far out.
Yeah.
First time I've ever swept him. And then from there, I kept progressing. And then I was like, oh, learned some cool leg locks and some other things. And then a sneaky move here and there. And he just stayed as he is. I'm not going to say his name, but he's like a second degree black belt now, but he's still got that old school mentality and never progressed. But what got you to where you were, where you are, you're like, cool, I learned up until a certain extent. And then, like I said, I don't act like I know everything, but there's certain guards that I don't know anything about.
Yeah.
So I've got to dabble into it a little bit, even if it's not my type of style, to teach it to another student, because that's how they can work on going down their own rabbit.
Yeah.
So you can learn from other people. Once you have that coach mentality of like, I'm the head honcho and you're not doing any research whatsoever, I feel you'll be that 10, 15 years down the track, that traditional martial artist that you just got left behind. You got to evolve with the times.
100%. Yeah. And I think too, evolution, shows that years go by, as time goes on, new and more things are just going to come through, and you have to keep up with the times. And I'm very grateful. You gave a very good testimonial for me, just in regards to always evolving, where a lot of other people will just get left behind because they're so stuck in their ways. But yeah, I do think, just going back to with watered down martial arts, I think it also is a bit of a disservice to the student if you award them too soon. And obviously this thing that's happened now with this high performance entrepreneur, um, hats off to him. And obviously, if it is legit, he's done over 3,000 hours or however much he said he's done. But I think private lessons alone, but there isn't really any rolling footage of him doing competition, things like that. And of course, you're going to get a huge amount of backlash from the jiu-jitsu community, because people that have been awarded their jiu-jitsu black belt, we know how long it takes. It takes an awfully long time. And when you do get to black belt, you say to yourself, shit, there's so much more I need to learn.
Well, yeah, it does water it down for us in a way, but maybe he's incredibly good and we just got shown terrible footage. But
Yeah.
anyway, like at the end of the day, why should anyone really give a shit about what I think about it?
Yeah.
I'm not putting that much time and energy and focus where it's affecting me. If somebody gets a belt in 3 years, I'm like, oh, good, I don't care. I've got
Yeah.
enough things to focus on.
That's right.
It's only if one of my students was to, I feel myself, if I got awarded a belt and I wasn't ready for it, I wouldn't feel that good. And then everyone else around, like I have had people in the past that are just willing to do whatever they possibly can to just get to the next belt. There was a student years ago, he came in, he did a grading, and then I didn't see him for months. And then we had another grading coming up and he's like, can I go to the grading? And I was like, you haven't even been training. It's like, oh yeah, but I watch your online content. And I was like, no, because you got to train, progress. It's yeah, it's funny.
Yeah.
Each to their own anyway. But I wouldn't feel right myself
No.
if I was awarded something that I felt like I didn't deserve.
Yeah.
It's just like you see, just like anything really. It's like you see a good example could be when I was learning how to drive. I had a real shitty car. I didn't even have a car. I was borrowing a car. And then you see these like learners driving around or P-platers in really nice brand new BMWs. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. How cool
Yeah.
is that? And they're like, yeah, whatever, it's just a car. But they didn't appreciate it because they just got given it. They didn't have to
Yeah.
work for it. Anything worth striving towards is usually not an easy thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree too. I think, regardless of what you see online, each to their own and their own journey. It's about the journey,
Mm,
not the destination. Where you are in the world, and if you practice jiu-jitsu or any sort of martial art, there's going to be a time frame. And I think too now, just with evolution, people are going to be able to get their black belts quicker because you have online instructionals.
yeah.
You've got a lot more coaches. You've got a lot more black belts. I mean, I remember when I was moving up in the ranks, there weren't too many black belts. If I saw a purple belt, it was like Jesus walking on water.
Yeah,
I never saw a
exactly.
purple belt. But now, just even with children, I'm seeing just with kids too, Gav, it's just incredible. Like kids doing, flying triangles and
Yeah,
Eminari rolls. Like I'm seeing kids as young as 6 doing that. I'm like,
I
holy,
know.
it's
Crazy.
incredible.
And if they can actually do it and pull it off, that's
Yeah.
awesome. I see, yeah, some yellow and orange belts doing moves that I haven't even been able to pull off in class. And then I remember like seeing this kid doing this rolling back take, and I was like, that is so cool. And then I showed one of my purple belts and brown belts, and they couldn't even get it. I
Yeah.
was like, just watch this video. And
Yeah.
I couldn't get it nearly as good as this kid could.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's evolving incredibly quickly.
It's impressive.
Going back to your purple belt, the Jesus walking on water thing,
Mm.
I remember when I was a white belt, the highest rank in class outside of the coach, Daniel Lima, because he was a black belt, we had a blue belt. And he was just known for knee riding everybody and just, he was smaller than me. He was smaller than everyone, but he just had so much pressure and he was friggin' good.
Yep.
He was a blue belt. And then we heard that there was a purple belt on the Gold Coast. And we're like, oh, far out.
Yeah.
There's a purple belt who flew over here from the States. And apparently he's done wrestling and everything. And we were just talking about it like it was a really big thing. But this purple belt never even came in and trained with us. We just heard that there was a purple belt around. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And then black belts were like unheard of. Same thing, brown belts were unheard of as well. And then you randomly get somebody flying over somebody on a visa or something like that, and they're a brown belt or something, or a black belt, and you're like, oh wow, this is crazy.
Yeah.
But and blue belts are insane. Now these days, I like there's so many black belts that are on the Gold Coast alone. I have no idea who they are.
That's right.
Like, yeah, there's so many clubs opening up. I remember back in the day when I was first starting Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu on the Gold Coast, there were like 3 clubs.
Mm.
And then now there's like, I was chatting to this other black belt from another club the other day. It's like, I think there's over like 40 or 50 now. Every like 5-minute drive, there's another jiu-jitsu club, which is
Yeah.
awesome for the sport.
Yeah.
But yeah, being a blue belt and a purple belt used to be a big thing back in the day.
It was huge. Yeah, it really was. Like, yeah, very rare you would see a purple belt come through the door. I mean, yeah, when I started, my original coach, yeah, he was a black belt. But there weren't too many in Brisbane,
Hmm.
because I'm from Brisbane. There weren't too many black belts in Brisbane other than himself, and he'd been starting jiu-jitsu. I think he started jiu-jitsu late 1996, I think.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so this was just after UFC 93.
Yeah, wow.
3 years later. So yeah, the evolution is just insane. It's just crazy. Yeah. Let's switch gears a little bit, Gav. We've got a crisis happening right now with young men. A lot of young men feel invisible.
Yep.
They feel purposeless. They lack motivation. There isn't really a lot of support for men these days, which is why I encourage all men to take up combat sports. I think too, combat sports especially can be very good, not just for confidence, the camaraderie as well, but it also instills a lot of habits that are essential for men as they move up in life. What have you found to be so crucial and beneficial in martial arts and how they can help with young men today?
Well, striving towards something,
Mm.
and actually having an outlet. Like it's funny. I look at martial arts as like, let's say you go to work and then you go home. This could be your third place. This is where you like to hang out. It's at a gym or something like that. But it is very sad to say that Probably every 2 to 3 weeks, I'm having a deep and meaningful conversation with somebody that has no other outlet whatsoever, male or female, and they're just feeling completely lost. And I feel very sad for the people, and I don't know how they work around it, not having some outlet where they're a part of a
Yeah,
community. But it's, that toxic masculinity these days is crazy. But be yourself, and then you should never feel bad for being yourself and doing what you want to do.
that's
You know,
right.
to hell with what the hell society thinks. Just do what you feel is right. If you're a good person, like it matters. Whatever you're into, it doesn't even matter at all. As long as you're doing right by other people, it's funny. It's the
Yeah.
way the world is going, but we have a lot of people that feel bad and then they have no outlet. And I've had like a fair few friends that have gone down a very bad route, and one recently that ended up taking his life. So it is sad that, yeah, it is important to be able to communicate with people and talk about certain things, but
Yeah.
yeah,
It
it
is a
is a
very,
very tough one.
it's a tough topic. Um, and it's something that really has opened up my eyes on my journey on how life is difficult.
Yeah,
Chris Rock famously said once, only women, children, and dogs are loved unconditionally. A
yeah,
man is only loved on the condition he can provide something. Um, Even though it's a comedy sketch, if you peel the layers from it, a lot of men have this lone wolf mentality. And if you
mm,
think about a wolf pack, right, the if the wolf is by himself, he's more susceptible to other predators. We're a little bit like that too. I think men need a brotherhood, they need a community, they need camaraderie, which is why this whole lone wolf mentality that a lot of men have, which is why they feel isolated, they feel alone, they feel depressed. Where I think that joining a community like this is one of the best things
mm,
a man can do, because you need a brotherhood. And that's what I find with martial arts for me, man, is it's just been an absolute catalyst in everything that I do. It's just helped me become such a a different person. Like, it's made me kinder, more compassionate. It's made me more empathetic. It's helped me help other people. But yeah, I think that martial arts for me and a lot of other people can really help. With a lot of young men that are going through
mm.
some certain issues and things like that. Have you found too, you've had, as you said, you mentioned you had students come through the door. Have you seen, you must have seen some pretty remarkable transformations.
I feel it's incredibly important for, I won't just say males, but females as well, to be part of a community, or especially males, because it's not really the type of thing where we go out of our way to talk to anyone about our feelings. We're trying to, the play the role where we just bottle it up and then we're doing fine,
Mm,
but it's fine to, you do need those like-minded people.
mm,
And I have a fair few students that come in here, and not to say that they're trying to escape, but they're around like-minded people where even if they're not talking about it, it's just an outlet.
mm,
So not that you're trying to run away from your problems, but you're not just bottling everything up. And this is a place where you can come and you can just switch off. Or there are certain people, like I know, like the other fight club at Ashmore, they do a lot of work with the veterans.
mm,
And majority of the class, from what I've heard, is they do a little bit of technique and they're just around similar people that can actually relate to them. And they're just most of the time just having conversations and chatting. And they're around similar people that have gone through some crazy things
mm.
where the outside public don't really know what it's like. So I think it's an incredibly important thing for especially young males, but also to be a part of something
Yeah,
and strive towards something. I feel myself, if I don't have something I'm focusing on, I get a little bit anxious and a little bit depressed. And I feel like I need to constantly have something to strive towards.
yeah.
And being around a like minded community can only be much more beneficial.
Yeah.
So, and martial arts, it's been my entire life.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like yourself, I've been doing this for about 30 years. It's completely shaped the person that I am. I don't know what I would do without it or where I would be. I can't, like, I have a couple of days off training, and I know certain people that are like, they have a couple of days off training and they're like, what's going on? I'm just stressed out, I'm annoyed and short-tempered. You're like, oh yeah, I haven't even trained for like 4 days.
Yeah.
So I do feel the same,
Yeah.
same things I was saying before, releasing those endorphins, those happy hormones. You can switch off the outside world and you can just come in. It doesn't matter what walk of life you're a part of, whatever you do for work or whatever it may be. You can just come in, have fun, and then you leave. Nothing's really changed, just your frame of thinking has changed. So
Yeah. Isn't it
it's
ridiculous
important.
how men are shamed for embracing their masculinity?
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
isn't it ridiculous? And this buzzword toxic masculinity that gets thrown around the internet, um, it really is a shame because we are a civilization that has grown up in a world where you and I both weren't we didn't have social media, but
Hmm.
we had the action stars to look up to. Van Damme, Schwarzenegger, Seagal, Stallone. We had all these action stars to look
Very
up to,
frowned upon these
but it's
days.
frowned upon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I heard of someone saying if you do martial arts, that's toxic masculinity. I'm like,
Yeah.
that is,
Clearly, they don't do martial arts.
yeah,
Um, yeah. I'll say this. It's like I said before, whatever, you're into, whatever sex, whatever gender, doesn't matter, whatever race, it doesn't mean anything. As long as you're a good person
yeah,
and you're into what you're into, that's perfectly fine. As long as you're not doing wrong by other people, you don't have to feel bad for any of that stuff. Just be a normal person. Don't be an asshole. That's basically it. And don't be ashamed for, oh, I'm into martial arts, or I like to go to the gym, or, I'm into whatever. Who cares? It doesn't matter. You just have to be a little bit easier on yourself because society is very good at shaming people for, oh, Max, yeah, it's funny. It's just the toxic masculinity
yeah,
is crazy these days. It's just like if you're into whatever, going to the gym and looking good and improving yourself, you don't have to feel bad
mm,
about that. It's just usually the ones that are not into that that'll shame you to make
yeah,
themselves feel better, to
yeah,
bring you down to their level.
yeah.
Don't focus on any of that shit. Just focus on yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, I think men are a little bit under attack at
Hmm.
the moment. I think really in a sense, young men especially looking for guidance. This is why Andrew Tate blew up, because he was promoting structure, order, going to the gym, discipline. Obviously, there are some parts of his content that are very well over the top, which I
Hmm.
get. But if you understand the message on where he's coming from, um, and it's up to also fathers out there to enforce this on kids too, regardless of whatever sport you do. It doesn't have to be martial arts. You could be doing tennis, soccer, rugby, whatever sort of thing you do. These are sort of essential things that help guide you to become the man that you're supposed to be. But I think too, man, I think men are a little bit under attack and they're looking for guidance. But does that ever sort of sit with you that you could be a great role model for young kids? Because, you're heavily, you're strong, you're fit, you've been doing martial arts for a long time. You know what it is to overcome obstacles and adversity. And these are all things that make you a better man.
Hmm.
Men build through trauma.
Hmm.
Men get stronger and become kinder people going through trauma and hardship and adversity and obstacles and all these things. Like, does that ever sit with you that you may also be a good role model for a lot of these young kids?
Of course it does. I'm only being myself, but it not that I want to do other things. I am who I am, and I'm fine with that. But it also is in the back of my mind that I'm like, oh yeah, I am a role model to these younger students,
Yeah.
because they may not have a good father role model or something, so or a brother or something like that. So I can only guide them in the right direction. It's
Yeah.
up to them whether or not they take that on board. But that is in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
If I was a coach that's constantly drinking and smoking and swearing all the time, I might swear here and there. But,
No.
in class, you've got to be a bit of a role model
Yeah.
as well. I feel that's important because basically, you want them to strive towards something that you feel would be good for them in the future,
Mm.
So uh, it always is in the back of my mind that I'm more than just a jiu-jitsu coach here. I mean, I do lots of personal training, and majority of the time, half an hour of it is therapy for
Yeah.
males and females. So there's a lot of people that just have to vent and get it off their chest, and
Yeah.
then that can be enough for them. But there are a lot of students that don't have good role model male figures,
Yeah.
and I'm just myself, but
Yeah.
I do keep that in the back of my mind that whether they do take that on board or not, majority of them are asking for those types of,
Yeah.
guidance questions, and I'll just do my best I
Yeah.
possibly can. It's up to them if they take it on board,
Yeah.
but it is very important, I feel.
Yeah, and a lot of it too, there are a small minority of um, people that do heinous things, and we've heard about stories that have happened in martial arts communities where, coaches have been very inappropriate,
Mm,
towards students. But I reflect on what it means to be a coach and what it means to be a good person and a good role model. Because yeah, I think it's the small minority of people that are fucking it up for the majority,
yeah, of
which is
course.
the thing that we're having right now, which is why a lot of people are thinking that it's toxic masculinity if you go to a martial arts gym.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's the same thing as the woke community where
yeah,
it's like majority of those people, they're not really like that.
no,
It's just a small percentage that get the limelight. And you're like, oh my God, they're all like that. And there's such a divider
yeah,
where majority of them are not like that anyway.
yeah,
And then, the far right, far left, it's a
yeah,
similar thing as well. But yeah, obviously going back to what you were saying, I was having a similar conversation without mentioning any names or anything like that or any stories. Yeah, okay, well, there was somebody that was doing the wrong thing, messaging people that were underage, and then, yeah, I couldn't have them around me because it's a reflection back at myself, and obviously I don't agree with
mm,
what the hell they're doing. When you're in that situation, I don't really know how to talk about this, but it's a reflection back on me if I associate myself with those types of people and
yeah,
it goes against who I am as a person.
yeah,
And I'm only thinking of that innocent person. I don't give a shit what your reasoning is behind it. But if you're going behind people's back and you're messaging underage girls, that's the wrong thing to do. What the fuck are you doing?
yeah,
The whole martial arts aspect goes out the window. I don't care who you are. That's not the right thing to do.
no,
So
yeah.
yeah, I'd
Hence
probably
the
get more cancelled if I talk more about it, but
no, no,
doesn't sit right with me.
these are really important discussions because we are in this woke, as you said, woke society now where you're having all these different ideologies and different genders, and it's taken a president of the United States to bring in a law saying that there's
Mm,
only two genders.
yeah,
Um, Whatever you do in your outside world is your own business, but you don't have to enforce those ideologies onto me.
yeah. I don't
Yeah,
give a shit what
yeah,
anyone else thinks. I
yeah,
never care. Like, why do people care what I think?
mm,
And I don't care what other people think anyway. So do whatever the hell you want,
yeah,
as long as you're not forcing me to call you something, because I don't care what you think about me, and why should
yeah,
you care about what I think about you
yeah,
anyway? So
yeah,
it's very controlling, very narcissistic.
yeah,
Whatever anybody does in their own time, I don't care, as long as I don't have to do anything different and it's not affecting my time.
yeah.
Do whatever you want.
Yeah, and I think too, Gav, like no one's born racist. No one's born homophobic. Like I think there just needs to be that level of education and also just understanding that everyone walks a different path to
Mm,
you. Just because someone's different, it might even be with a disability or
mm,
a nervous tick that they do. Just understand everyone has their own journey and their own walk of life too. And I think this is where I think you're getting this conundrum now, in especially in the whole, with masculinity and toxic masculinity and things like that. Is It's confusing as fuck
mm,
because there's all this information out there that's just getting thrown out to the masses. But I think just too going back into what it means to be a good person is, striving for something, have a sense of
mm.
purpose and camaraderie. And this is why coming into a fight gym is men especially can really benefit, as you're talking about veterans as well. This is what can really benefit people you know, to have that friendship and that sense of community and feeling belonging. which is super important for kids too, man. Super important.
Yeah, it's funny, the whole gender thing and racist thing. It's like it doesn't make any sense to me where it still doesn't make any sense. It's like who gives a shit about what skin color you have or what gender you are? It doesn't matter. As long as you're a good person and you're not a dick,
Mm.
all good. I'm more than happy to hang out with you. It doesn't matter. As long as you're a good person, you're doing right by other people,
Yeah.
doesn't matter at all. It's
Yeah.
wasting so much friggin' time focusing on the wrong thing, but it's pushed out to the masses. So, it takes us away from focusing on what's more important.
Yeah.
As such a divider, you're right or left, or you're this race, or you're this race, or you're this gender, or you're this gender. It's such a waste of time in my eyes
Yeah.
that I try not to focus on any of that whatsoever. And I don't care where you're from or what you're into, as long as you're a good person, all good.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. The rest is irrelevant.
Yeah.
You could be very similar person to me, like into, jujitsu or whatever, and, doing weights and things like that. But then again, if you're an asshole, I don't want anything to do with you. Who's to say that I'm going to dividing everyone and then putting them in a different group or something like that?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Take the person for face value on who they are. That's all that matters.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's up to parents too to teach good habits. What do you think of also the ban of social media for young kids under the age of 16? Do you think it's a net positive or a net negative? What's your thoughts on that?
It's like,
Yeah.
obviously there's some hidden agenda of like why they're doing that really.
Yeah.
It's like the whole, um, I'll probably get pretty political here, but where it's like, oh, okay, so the government is in control of focusing on, like, they can look at absolutely everything you've ever done on social media. Not to say that you're doing something wrong, but they know your every single movement and then they can deem what's right and what's wrong. So I've heard that there's a new law coming in, getting passed in Australia, and we're the first nation to do it, where if you were to say something in a group chat about something to do with some pandemic that they deemed as misinformation, you can get, fined for it's like what's happening over in the UK. If you were to say something on Facebook about somebody in Parliament and they disagreed with it, you'd get jail time.
Yeah.
So it's like that's what's happening over here down the track. So I really don't think it's anything to do with online bullying. It's just that's a good way into it, where it's just like the digital IDs, and then they've got track of every single thing you've ever said, even if you're making a joke about something that is political but it doesn't align with their ideology, you can get jail time or fined. It's like, yeah, that's where it gets bad.
It's kind of scary actually. Like, how well do we really know? I spoke about this, like Chess Bra spoke about this, dismantling the family unit, when I had a great conversation with him. I think, he mentioned on the podcast, the forces above are trying to keep a dual household income. Taxes are rising, government wants more money. If there's more money being spent, there's more consumerism. It dismantles the family unit. But you can go into so many different rabbit holes with this. And it is scary too, because there is a part of it which I think is a good thing, banning social media for people under the age of 16. Like, can you imagine you and I on how we would have grown up with social media? Like, thank fuck we didn't grow up in a world with TikTok, Instagram, and because our brains were still developing. Like you and I, we remember that mum would say to us, come inside when the street lights come on. It's late, you need to come inside. But now kids are on their tablet and they're on there 24/7, and you don't know what they're getting, from those.
Yeah, well, I see like there's pros and cons to it. Like, did you see? You would have seen that video, if not, where it was a young Chinese kid. I think he was probably like 6, and he was asleep, and it was like he was crying, and he was going like this, swiping like he was on his iPad, and he was having a nightmare, and he was actually on his iPad. So yeah, it's clearly affecting them. But it's like it also comes down to what do they deem as right and wrong? What extent, obviously, there's some crazy shit out there that kids should not be looking at all on social media. And I mean, yeah, like you look at some kids, they're amazing on the phones and tablets and stuff at like the age of 3, which is crazy. I remember going to school and then we would get computer time once every 2 weeks where we had to partner up with somebody else, and we get 20 minutes to just like print something or look up a website, and then that was it. But kids these days, yeah, there's pros and cons of it. It's going to benefit them in the future because they're pretty tech savvy, way more tech savvy than I am, like a 10-year-old on a laptop. But then again, I mean, it's going to be pretty good for future chiropractors, if you wanted to get into that, to think about how many people are just looking down. They're constantly on their phone. They've constantly got bad posture. I was chatting to my friend who's a manager at Woolworths, and he said we have to constantly have meetings to staff to get them off their phone as they're serving customers.
Yeah.
And this is like a regular thing where they've got no communication skills whatsoever. And these people that are like 15, 16, 17, they're on their phones, on social media as they're serving customers.
Yeah.
You're like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
And then you can't even have a conversation with them. And it's just like, that's crazy to think that it's gotten to that stage. So there's pros and cons of both, and it's never just clear cut. That makes sense. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's
I think also social media has kind of exacerbated the loneliness epidemic. People are so equipped to, talk back and forth online because yes, you can have a community online, but it's not the same as face to face.
no, not at
Like
all.
I was in a shop, Gav, probably last year or maybe the year before. There are four people, right, within close proximity. All of them were just like this, talking on their phone, like messaging, whatever.
Yeah,
And I'm thinking, what the fuck's going on here? Like,
yeah.
there's four people. Like, put your phone down, have a conversation with one another.
So I went into a cafe the other day, real close. I won't mention what one it is. And then there were 5 staff members. 2 were talking. The other 3 were on their phone. And I was just walking around. I was like, what the hell's going on? I was like, and they're like, and I walked right up to the counter. I was like, excuse me. Oh, and then they came over, put their phone down, and it was a burden for them to do that.
Yeah.
I was like, what the hell? And then right after I got my coffee, no communication skills whatsoever. I don't ask for anything, but it's like if I don't feel welcome somewhere, I'm not going to go back. And then they went straight back to talking and on their phones again. I was like, all right, well, cool. I don't really feel overly welcome,
Yeah.
so I'm not going to come back. I'm sure you've seen the picture. I think it was like the year 2000, the New Year's Eve party of people celebrating, and then it was like 5 years later, 2010 or something like that. And then there was just like people partying to people all around in a circle. New Year's Eve was on, and they were all just on their phone. Yeah,
Yeah. It's
I
crazy.
hate the fact that. Okay, so what I've started to do over the last year is I don't scroll on social media. People ask me my opinions about certain things. And I'm like, I don't care. I have no time and energy for that. I'll put posts up. I'll put like a new jiu-jitsu video up or something like that, some reel or something, or a post, and then I smoke bomb and I'm out of there. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'll respond to people that responded on my post because it's a business thing, and then that's it. I'm never going to be doing endless scrolling, or if I do, I catch myself and I get annoyed with myself. Maybe right before I go to bed, I'm absolutely brain dead and it's like 11:30 at night. I'll just look at some funny videos for like 5 minutes, and then that's
Yeah.
it.
It's fun.
Yeah,
It's fun.
that's
Yeah.
it, because
Yeah.
I feel like I'm wasting so much friggin' time when I could be, reading or working on my business, or I don't know, stretching or chilling out and relaxing. So I'm just really trying not to, I want to go out there and not consume, but create content.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of the most amazing inventions that's ever happened is the phone,
Mm,
the iPhone. But also at the same time, it's also been proven as a device that is highly, highly addictive.
mm,
It's the same chemicals that get flooded into your brain if you drink, gamble, and smoke. In other words, social media and phone scrolling is highly, highly addictive.
yeah.
So I can understand too that there are, going back to the social media ban, there are pros and cons. Pros, obviously, definitely amazing because we want to keep kids safe online.
But it doesn't just go to kids, it
No,
goes to everyone, because you'd have to put in your age, and then they're like, oh, okay, so I'm sure eventually they'll monitor everyone.
it is scary. Yeah, it
Mm,
is scary. We're living in a world now where I think AI is coming into play, and a lot of jobs are going to be obsolete. But I think the most important jobs, essential service, but also things like this are going to be essential too. People need a fight gym. They
mm,
need a sense of camaraderie. They need to come and just put life on hold,
Yeah.
which is why I think, you're always going to see fight gym. But yeah,
Can't roll when you got your phone in your hand.
no, exactly.
Really, you got to be in the moment
Yeah,
because you're defending your arm getting twisted or your neck getting twisted, and
yeah,
you put to sleep. So you've got to be in the moment.
yeah, yeah. It is scary, man. It is. It's exciting to see AI and what it can do. It's exciting to see, what's going to happen in the next 10, 15, 20 years with just advancing of technology. But at the same time, it's fucking scary.
Hmm.
It really is.
I never thought like years ago, like I saw a video the other day that AI and robots would go that far ahead. Where I saw a video the other day and it was a surgical procedure and it was done to the millimeter and everything was perfect.
Mm,
So it's like, if you're a surgeon, you get quite tired and then you have to have a break and you can make mistakes. Obviously, hopefully none of that ever happens, but a computer and a robot, they're not going to stuff up
no.
whatsoever. And then there was one that was I'm sure you've seen the robots playing soccer. Crazy. Awesome. So, I don't know, eventually down the track you'll have I don't know, maybe robots that can do jiu-jitsu or something.
Yeah, yeah,
Scary.
yeah. And I think man has always figured out ways to combat problems.
Mm,
We've always come up with solutions. Okay, so well, if a robot can do 24 hours, 7 days a week without fatiguing,
yeah.
um, if it's going to help society, there's no going backward.
Well, you look at how good some of the AI videos are, just like change a background, or it's like get this person doing something else, or put sunglasses on, and it's almost perfect. I
Yeah,
remember about a year ago, my friend, he was a graphic designer, and he was like, I'm really struggling to find business, and it's a dying industry because of how good AI is becoming. And then that was just images. But now video is insane.
yeah.
You even see, like, I'm sure you've seen the one where it's like Will Smith eating spaghetti kind of thing. Like a couple of years ago, you're like, what the hell is going on? They couldn't work out what to do with the fingers, and then it was all over the place. Years later, you could see the progression. It was getting better, it was getting better. Now it's like absolutely perfect
Oh,
kind of thing. If you haven't seen it, definitely worth looking up as well.
yeah, yeah. I use a lot of AI for my editing and content creating.
Hmm.
It's amazing. Like I posted a video and I asked Midjourney, which is a AI um AI platform which you can create like digital art,
Hmm.
or just anything. You can ask it, a jiu-jitsu practitioner on the beach doing a throw or something like that. It'll do it, and then you can use AI to make it move.
Yeah,
And
crazy.
it's crazy. It's insane.
I saw one where it was like, okay, there was like AI there was a video that they just upload and they're like, all right, let's see it from another angle. And then they completely change the angle and the video. And then it was like, all right, now let's put sunlight on it because it's
Yeah,
night. Now it's, it's day.
yeah,
I mean, I've seen your content, which is like all your reels and all of the images, like, you got that blue background and then that was all done with like Midjourney, right?
that's right.
Awesome. And Midjourney is not a new product. That's been around for a couple of years now.
Yeah,
The fact that you can actually make videos from just a still image is
yeah,
got to become a conductor, otherwise you're going to be left behind.
yeah,
So
yeah. No, it's super interesting, super amazing. But at the same time, scary. Like I was watching Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
great movie.
Great movie with Schwarzenegger.
That's the first movie I cried to when he
Oh
got
yeah,
burnt at the
100%.
end. I wasn't
Yeah,
I wasn't crying to like The
yeah.
Lion King or anything, but when Terminator he died, I was like, it was
Oh yeah,
a sad day.
it's a
I was like
sad
5.
moment. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I know the scene
That would
too.
be very toxic these days.
Y-
Toxic masculinity for sure.
Oh yeah, it's just
Anyway, great movie.
yeah,
Go on.
great movie. But trying to think where I was going with this.
Is that all you're going to say? It's a good movie?
It is a great
Okay, yeah, right, yeah.
movie. No, it is. It's a good movie, but I think too, we're not that far away from robots. Like,
Hmm.
you watch Terminator 2 and the robots are coming to destroy, and you got Skynet, and for
Yeah.
those people that, spoiler alert, that need to go and watch the movie. But yeah, we're not that far away from reality. Like things are starting to turn into sort of this sci-fi kind of film.
I'm sure you've seen all the Black Mirror episodes like 5, 10 years ago or something like, or probably 5 years ago. All of those episodes came out and they're futuristic things that could
Yeah.
happen. And the majority of those things have already happened in such a short amount of time. It's like, oh, far out. That's pretty creepy.
Yeah.
But they've already happened.
Have you seen some of the Simpsons memes? How people,
Yeah, what's going on there? Yeah.
yeah, that's really
They
weird.
can foresee the future,
Yeah,
basically. Like there was a Trump going down the escalator or something, him as a president, they did that such a long time ago, and there's
yeah,
some other things that had happened. It's like Simpsons did it again.
yeah,
They
yeah,
could
yeah.
foresee the future.
There was one with the coronavirus pandemic.
Yeah.
They did a thing. Yeah, like they predicted it.
Hmm.
Like it's kind of like
It's
you look
funny
at it.
because that just happened out of the blue, right? That wasn't
Yeah,
planned.
yeah, I
Yeah.
know. Yeah. But it is, I think it is scary, man. It really is. I think just with the way social media is and just how everything is so readily available. Like look at what Netflix did. It blasted out Blockbuster. You
Mm.
know, Blockbuster doesn't exist anymore. Now you can log on and watch a movie. You
Yeah.
know, it's
Yeah.
it's incredible.
Video Easy, Blockbuster.
Yeah.
I remember back in the day walking around trying to work out what movie you want to get, and then you couldn't even pick, and now you can sit at your own home and you can put all these things on Netflix, and you're just like, I'm gonna watch one of these, but you never do. You just add them to your list because it
Yeah.
could be something new. So it's the
Yeah.
same thing as like the new day Blockbuster or
Yeah.
Video Easy.
And I think it's the paradox of choice. You have so many options to choose from, and I mean, you're just bombarded with so much to choose. You don't know what the fuck you want to watch.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, isn't that a ridiculous problem to have? You have a
Yeah.
paradox of choice. You've got all these movies that you can choose from to watch. Put something on,
Yeah.
and yet you can't decide which movie you want to choose.
Yeah, and our short attention spans these days, we'll
Yeah,
watch a movie that we want to watch and then we'll have our phone. And
yeah,
you're like, oh, okay, you didn't even pay attention anyway. So
yeah.
that's why it's a dying breed, but it's like I love to go to the cinemas just
Me
to
too.
switch off
Me too.
because you can't pause it. And then I don't think that's going to be around much longer, but you can't
Yeah,
go on your phone because you're going to miss what's happening. So,
yeah. I love the cinema too. I think as well. Yeah, you're right. Like I think we don't know how long things are going to last for. There's going to be something new that's going to come along that's just going to just completely just change the way we look at life. And Video Easy and Blockbuster, they were around forever. It was fun. It was fun
mm,
going to the video store and choosing a film. And you know, then you'd ask the cashier, "Oh, there's no new releases left. You know when one's going to come back in?" But now
yeah,
you don't have that problem
you wouldn't
anymore.
even care what it was. You're just like,
Yeah,
oh, a new movie came out. We'll watch this.
yeah,
And then that's it.
that's right. But
Now we're
yeah,
flooded with so many different platforms anyway.
yeah.
I don't have any platforms because I know that I'm just like, I'll consume too
Yeah,
much. So,
but I do worry too, Gav, that we do have a short attention span.
yeah.
People have TikTok brain; they cannot pay attention. Things are now like if you look at Reels, like Instagram now, they've extended Reels to up to 3 minutes, but also they kind of incorporated the TikTok trend. Like TikTok was the one where you could just scroll through;
Mm,
it was short
never
reels,
ending.
never-ending short reels, and now Instagram adopted that. But now you can just flick through Reels, so people can't really sit and watch one video. They're constantly scrolling and scrolling and scrolling through various reels. They
Yeah.
can't just sit and pay attention.
Well, I remember hearing, I was watching some documentary where it's the endless scrolling. So Facebook does it, Instagram does it, where you used to be able to go to the bottom and then that was it.
Yeah,
But now you can refresh and then there's more stuff. And if
yeah,
it's not brand new stuff, it's stuff from a couple of days ago, put up the top as well. So it's just never ending. So same
yeah,
thing as obviously TikTok, you just keep going forever and then it'll
yeah,
be a new video that comes up. You don't get to the end where you would obviously go, oh, okay, well, that's it. I'll go and do something else. So it's a great way to actually just get everybody's focus. But
yeah,
even the people that created this software, they know that it's bad for you and then they can't help it as well. They're like, we can't work around it. We
yeah,
have our phones on us all the time and we need to. And we're
yeah.
so not yes we are addicted to our phones but we need it for everything really. Like I'm on social media for work
That's
but I
right.
hate it with a passion because I know it's just consuming so much of my brain capacity.
Mm.
Like I same thing like talking about say Netflix saving all these things. I'll save all these things that I want to look at later on Instagram and then I have endless videos, so it's just like it just takes so much brain capacity
Yeah,
really.
yeah, yeah. It does. Yeah, 100%. Um, so final thoughts, Gav. So with your online instructionals, so people can um go online. It's grapplehub.com. Is that right?
Grapplehub.co.
Yep.
So I'm constantly uploading new content every week. I've
Yep.
got a free group, a free Facebook group that I'm adding new content to
Yep.
always. The platform, grapplehub.co. I'm adding in new instructionals every single week and just trying to help beginners all the way to advanced students progress. It was initially just for my students, but I've had a fair few other people around. And it's just a good way to, obviously, you might feel like a bit of a fish out of water and you want somebody on standby to be able to answer those questions or go, oh, go watch this video. Or you need help escaping side control, for example. Oh, this is a good thing to go to and watch this. Oh, you got to work on your body lock takedowns. I don't know how to get out of it. You're like, okay, cool. I've got a whole course on that stuff there. So, constantly updating new content all the time, as much as I possibly can record. And just
Yeah.
gonna keep chipping away and just keep making more, and giving the people what they want,
Mm.
hopefully.
What makes your online instructionals different from other online instructionals?
So mine is like a platform where I initially was doing individual courses, but then again I've done over about 20 now. So it's just I'll keep adding to them. And then I've got like, diet stuff on there. I've got MMA content as well as stand-up wrestling, judo, jiu-jitsu, gi, no gi, as well as like more like a mentorship. So if you have any random questions or you upload any footage whatsoever, I can kind of give you a little bit of feedback on that as well, on how I would approach it, rolling footage, what they did right, what they did wrong, how I would adjust it. So just helping people progress with the finer details of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. And do you think now too, because you've had the process of getting stem cells, would there be any room to maybe do one more comp? I don't think you probably have another fight, MMA fight, but what about, I mean, maybe you might. I'm not too sure. Would there be any sort of possibility of maybe having one more MMA fight, or maybe doing a few Masters BJJ comps at black belt, or?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. Maybe more jiu-jitsu these days. I'm not really overly fussed myself because as time's gone on, like I started competing at the age of 11,
You've
and
done,
then I've
yeah,
done a hell of a lot all
yeah,
the way to, I guess, just I stopped competing at the age of say 33, 34. So I've competed in absolutely everything I possibly could, but my focus more these days is to focus on my students and the newer generation going ahead. Like I've got a lot of MMA students who are fighting amateur and professional, some that have got some titles, some that have to defend their titles, as well as new students coming in, as well as gi and no gi. So that's keeping me incredibly busy
yeah,
anyway, and I'm more than happy to just like, honestly, I look at them and then if I ever think about getting back into it, I would get absolutely smoked from how good they are, which is good because I don't hold anything back. But just mucking around with them, obviously they're training all the time. But then when I go in and do a little bit of sparring or a little bit of grappling, I'm getting destroyed.
yeah,
So that's when I'm like, oh, okay. But it's a good thing
yeah.
to know that your students are a lot better than you were anyway. So,
I think that's what really separates a good coach from a great coach. Is a great coach will praise their students once they exceed their own level. John Danaher, I think he said Gordon Ryan is a far better grappler than he is
mm,
than he ever was. Even though John Danaher didn't compete, but it's a testament to his teaching. And I think that's where once I realized I was a coach, the focus becomes less about me and more about my students.
yeah.
It becomes about them. It comes as a way of me getting them to the next level, them advancing and excelling. And if they do excel and get further in jiu-jitsu and even a few times maybe beat me on the mat, that's a good thing.
Yeah, it is
That's a good
definitely
thing. Yeah.
like a good example is the other day, like, my student has a different way of looking at things. For an example, he was doing these pretty cool moves when he was fighting, and I was like, "Well, how do you do that?" And he was like, "Oh, "I do it like this for this reason." I was like, "Oh,
Mm.
cool. Oh, that's awesome. Can you show the class?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Yeah, no, that was a really cool technique. I haven't seen it like that,
Yeah.
and I haven't done that before." And he's like, "Oh, really?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm the coach, but I don't know everything. You're competing all the time, so of course you're going to come across different things." So I don't act like I know everything,
Yeah.
and nor should I as well. So if you guys know something or it's going to help you progress, I don't act like I have all the answers. I can just guide you in the right direction.
Yeah.
But like I said the other day, there was a brown belt who showed me a really cool technique, and I was like, "That's awesome. Can you show the class?" And I was like, "Far out! I wish I knew that earlier." And
Yeah.
he's just like, "Oh, I saw this on an instruction." I was like, "Cool. I don't want to be that old traditional martial artist that goes, no, these are the moves you need to do."
Yeah.
whatever helps you progress. And that helped me with my game. And I was like, it's something so simple,
Mm.
but it took one of my lower ranked students to show it to me, and I'll take it on board.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good observation. Is even as coaches, sometimes you have to drop your ego a little bit because you can learn even from people at a lower level than you, and be open-minded. And Bruce Lee said it best: be open-minded, be open to new things. Like if I'm sure if Bruce Lee was alive today, even though he was a striker, he did dabble a little bit in judo, a little bit of grappling, but I'm sure he would have trained with the Gracies. He would have trained Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and always be open-minded to learning new things, which I think really separates you from a world-class coach. Like is you have the mentality of training someone from A to B, but you yourself are also willing to learn. Going back to what you said, this is why a lot of other people are just going to be getting left behind is because they're not open-minded like you. You know, you're willing to learn, even learn from people that are obviously on a lower level than you, but it excels not just their development, but it also excels your development as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. 100%, man. Gav, mate, awesome to have
Thank
you
you,
back on
James. It's
the
been great to be on.
podcast. And people can find you on Instagram, and you got your Grapple Hub.
grapplehub.co,
Yep.
as well as just my Instagram, gav.bjj.
Yep.
And head there and you'll see a lot of other social media links, no doubt.
Yep. And Fight Club Jiu-Jitsu in Miami, if people
Of
want to
course.
come down, do
I
some
will be
training.
here pretty much every day anyway, so
Yep.
no doubt.
Always good to come down here. You know, I've jumped into some of your classes and I always tell people how much of a fantastic instructor you are because
Thank you.
one thing that you always impressed upon me is you're able to break the technique down for the individual to understand. And that's something that really stuck with me is you articulate the technique very, very well and you break it down. Whereas coaches might show you a technique. I'm like, I don't understand what you just did. Whereas you break it down in a way that you sort of understand and then you go do it. And then you're like, man, it makes so much sense. So you have a very unique way of articulating yourself to break down the technique for the individual to understand.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The goal is to pass on the knowledge and, at the end of the day, dumb it down like a third grade reading level. Everyone can understand it and go, okay, cool.
Yeah.
As opposed to talking and using big words and things like that and just over the top of people's heads.
100%. Awesome. Thanks,
Cool.
Gav.